Hello and welcome to this webinar, Avoiding Project Nightmares, What's Left in Your Inboxes. This event is brought to you by Engineering News Record and sponsored by Mail Manager. Hi, I'm Derek Teal, Content Deployment Manager at ENR and your moderator for today's webinar. Thank you for joining us. With employees increasingly working remotely and disputes becoming more prominent with projects facing delays and scope changes, reducing risk is vital for the future of many firms. Many of these risks today lie within the chaos of project emails. Today we'll answer the burning question, how do you manage the risk of today? Today's presenters are Lucy Pryor and Guy Seward, Senior Client Managers at Mail Manager, the email management solution developed by Arup. Lucy is a Senior Client Manager at Mail Manager who helps firms across the AEC industry reduce risk, improve information visibility, save time, and take back control of project correspondence. Guy is also a Senior Client Manager at Mail Manager, who is responsible for helping businesses solve their email headache and provide peace of mind for directors and principals. Before we begin today's presentation, please enjoy this brief instructional video on how to use your webinar console.
Welcome to this webinar. Before we begin the presentation, I want to provide you with a few housekeeping items. On your screen, you will see a taskbar with icons. Each icon is assigned to a particular element of today's webinar. Click on the person icon to learn more about today's speakers. Throughout the presentation, you can network with others or submit questions to the speakers in the Q&A and chat box next to the slides. Download resources from the cloud icon. After the webinar is over, please take our survey to tell us how we did. Today's event is being recorded and archived and will be available within 24 hours. For on-demand questions or comments, send us an email by clicking Need Help? Email us. If you experience any technical issues today, please refresh your browser by hitting F5 for PC or Command R for Mac. And now I'm excited to turn it over to today's moderator.
And don't forget to submit your questions. Later in the program, Lucy and Guy will address as many as possible. Today's event is being recorded and archived on enr.com/webinars, so you can share this presentation with your colleagues. And now I'm excited to turn it over to today's first presenter, Lucy Pryor. Lucy?
Thanks, Derek. Can you hear me all okay?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Really happy to have you on the call today. We're going to be talking about how to avoid project nightmares, particularly when it comes to dealing with communication chaos left in the inbox. So what we're going to do is start giving you some context around the types of things you'd expect to see within your inbox when receiving and sending emails, but most importantly, those ones that become commercially important. Following this, one of the most common issues that we hear from contractors is around how they have disconnected sites, meaning information isn't always shared from site team to back office, which causes delays, miscommunication, and issues on projects. We'll then delve deeper into why we see document management systems only addressing half a problem, things that work well and things that still get left behind, but particularly honing in on why document management systems are good for storing deliverables like drawings and designs, but not good at the why behind this, which is key. The other thing we're going to be talking about is how we better manage email, do more with less. With teams being made smaller with the craziness going on in the world these days, people leaving the business, but you're still expected to do the same amount of work with less people. We're seeing email as becoming particularly effective as it improves efficiency, visibility, decision-making, and project collaboration. We'll be giving you some use case examples from the likes of Arup, Gensler, and Rambo about how they email the way they work and manage email. Finally, I'll be taking you through a short demonstration on Mail Manager so that you can see how it automates the filing of project emails and integrates the likes of Procore, Teams, and SharePoint so you have better visibility of projects at all times. Before we do get there, I'd be really keen to understand today. So we'll be launching a poll in a second. If I can ask that's the one that's most relevant for you, that should be coming up on the screen any second. It might be you've come on the call today currently reviewing IT systems. The current processes aren't working as well as you would like. It may be that you're keen to understand how the likes of Genza are working, maybe struggling with email or in its current use, or interested in Procore. Okay, interesting. So I'll be sharing the results in a second. There's one that's quite overpowering on here. Okay, let's have a look at the results. So interestingly, it seems that most people on the call to hear about how others manage email. We're excited to take you through that as we go through this presentation. I'll hand over to my colleague Guy now.
Thank you, Lucy. Hey, my name's Guy. I'll be taking you through Project Nightmare and how to manage commercially sensitive information that is spread and scattered around your team's inboxes. Employees are increasingly working remotely, and disputes are becoming more prominent. Reducing risk is vital for the very survival of many firms, and the days are gone when you can simply turn around to the next desk and ask your colleague to find an email. Being able to efficiently capture and manage all correspondence and making that information accessible to all so no one's left out of the communication loop is vital to avoid delays and project risks. Many of these risks today lie within the chaos of project emails. So how do you manage the chaos of manage the risk of today? Disconnected sites. So on projects, traditionally we've had 2 points of contact. You've got the office and you've got the site. Different sites have their own filing system. People are often on tablets where they aren't filing anything at all, which would most definitely differ to their colleagues sat at their desk. Information isn't always shared from site back to the office and vice versa, and emails are a huge part of it. In March 2020, the pandemic added to this disconnect. We now have project workers in the office, on site, and in their kitchen, or their bedroom, or home office if they're really lucky. Never before has there been more risk of losing sensitive information. And never before has it been more important to think outside the box and take a look at sensible measures to help. Document management systems only address half the problem. Why? The context of a project is within your inbox. For instance, it's easy to see when there's been a delay in a project. But an email, that's what will tell you why there's been a delay. Document management systems are really good for storing drawings and design, but not good at capturing the why of a project. The cost of incomplete document management is vast. To name but a few, you run the risk of setbacks, going over budget, repeating work. You risk low productivity, important data being scattered around different places, and ultimately bad communication. We at Mail Manager undertook a research report. We asked 450 respondents in leadership job roles about their views relating to project management processes. It revealed the lack of capabilities in retrieving information relating to a project across the AEC industry. The report asked firms across the US, UK, Australasia, and South Africa about their views on technology trends, how they manage project information, what information they need to retrieve, where it resides, and what they need to find in a legal dispute. For most companies, over 80% of project conversations take place via email. However, almost 90% of firms are worried about project information being difficult to access. Only 1 in 10 are confident at finding projects. 99% of people have had to go back in time and retrieve emails from a past project. Every business has, your OCD filers, And then you've got your filing out laws. While documents and drawings are normally managed better with the use of efficient programs such as Procore, Office 365, emails are the one thing everyone manages differently. Regardless of if you want to file to something else, integrating email into your project management helps alleviate risk. It betters communication, frees up time for project work, helps you deal with high staff turnover, something that's more relevant now than before. Helps with that disconnect I spoke about between site teams and the office, and ultimately, perhaps most importantly, it helps you be proactive rather than reactive. Most companies have systems in place for things like job costing, photos, intranet, but never really they organize and share their email. Gensler, Ramboll, Arup, Royal Haskoning, DHV, all companies that have made email a powerful ally in dispute and enabling project teams to do more with less. I'll tell you a couple of stories. We'll start at Gensler. I'm sure most people know Gensler, architecture and design firm with over 6,000 employees across 48 locations globally. As in most businesses, Gensler's email tended to stay in individuals' inboxes. Some people organized messages into Outlook subfolders. Others never had time to maintain a filing protocol and just relied on time-consuming search options to retrieve vital past correspondence buried amongst thousands of emails. As Gensler's mailboxes grew, the volume of collective emails for the size of Gensler's operation quickly became a storage issue as well. Gensler saw Mail Manager as a safe pair of hands to handle their storage and email management needs. Then we've got world-leading engineering, consultancy and design company based in Denmark. The business now has more than 15,000 experts globally. With such a strong representation across the world, Ramboll works on a large range of projects across their offices daily. They've got teams scattered strategically to meet the needs of their clients. Whilst their global offices were not working on projects together as such, each project had numerous members. And they found there's inconsistency in having access to all project emails. Either emails were not being filed centrally or simply were being locked in inboxes. Mail Manager is now used heavily across a number of Ramboll's global offices, including UK, Sweden, America, Australia. As the solution has developed over its 10 years at Ramboll, it's simply become a way of life at the company, and everyone is now filing their project emails both consistently and centrally. These are larger firms. Over 1,000 small to medium companies also use Mail Manager, and the reason they implement it is it's quick, easy, cost-effective. Don't need an IT department to do it. I will hand back over to Lucy now, who will tell us a little bit more about Mail Manager. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Guy. Now, what you're seeing on the screen here is typically how most companies manage email. And how do they manage it? Well, everyone just does their own thing. So you've got some people doing what they should be. That might be filing it onto a server against the project folder. But most people tend to leave emails within their inbox. And that becomes an issue when you need to go and find an email, whether that's day-to-day to see a scope of work change, or worst case scenario, you've got a dispute on a project and you've got to go back and reproduce everything against that project. Most companies go back to the project folder and a lot of that information is missing.
Hey guys, so Mail Manager, about 14 years ago, 12 to 14 years ago, I realized they had a problem. Everyone did different things with their emails. Some people filed them away diligently, others didn't. It meant important information went missing and everyone was really frustrated with the amount of time they wasted in Microsoft Outlook. Directors were concerned at the risk caused by not being able to retrieve project information in years to come. And if they did have to go back in time, collate every single email from one, they would have been able to. It just would have been a bit of a nightmare. So they thought, what if we could find a solution that allowed our project teams to find any email on any project in seconds without spending that initial time filing? Wanted to buy something, but they couldn't find anything suited to their needs. They needed something they could turn on overnight that would just start learning their behaviors with minimal disruption to workflow, meant they didn't have to talk about emails again. Something they were keen to do. They couldn't find it, so their IT team wrote their own system for internal use, and it was only ever intended to be used by Arup staff. However, about 4 years ago, noticed a lot of interest in project email management, particularly in site meetings where they'd shown it to other engineers and architects, contractors, so decided to offer it out as a solution that other firms could buy. It's something that's being developed by an engineering firm as opposed to a purely IT-focused company. So hopefully when Lucy shows you it, it's something that you would just be able to see yourselves using without having to think too hard. Here are a select few of our clients. I imagine some of them will jump out at you. As you can see, sectors vary. We've got engineers, architects, contractors, consultants. We've even got a retail firm on the screen there, River Island. Sectors vary. What they generally have in common is that they work on projects. They work in high-risk environments, and they felt Outlook was beginning to hamper productivity on a day-to-day basis. Now, here are problems we've helped to solve for some of our clients. I'll just walk you through this. Now, I wasn't actually meant to be doing this part of the webinar, and Lucy, if you're back on, are we doing the poll now?
I'm back on. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah? Okay, perfect. So on the screen here are some of the key issues that companies face around email. So often when we speak to principals, directors and presidents, they share big concerns about risk of losing sensitive information for any reason there's any kind of litigation issues. Often when we speak to project managers, principals of engineering, they get annoyed with how much information is locked in people's inboxes. They don't have project information at their fingertips to understand exactly what's going on. And for those people that do file diligently, they're spending huge amounts of time filing emails manually and time spent searching for emails. Now, appreciate a lot of you on here to learn how other people manage emails, but really be keen to understand some of or if any of these challenges do resonate with you. So you'll have a poll coming up on the screen now. If I can ask you to select the ones that are most relevant to you. We'll leave that up for a few seconds. Okay. Really interesting results coming through, quite a widespread through the board of all of them. It's still moving, so I'll leave it up a couple more seconds and then we'll move on to the results. You can all see what everyone has put. Okay, here we go. So it looks like the key one is wasted time spent filing and searching for emails manually, but there's still a lot going on with the other issues on the screen there. So thank you for sharing that with us, guys. What I'm going to do now is take you into a live demonstration of Mail Manager so you can see exactly how it works. I'm just going to share my screen for you. First thing to start with, what is Mail Manager? The Mail Manager is a simple Outlook plugin which will appear in the ribbon of Outlook up here. So it's very nice and easy to install. Now, the two key parts we're going to be talking about today is how it files emails, how it drives that habit and process internally. And the second piece is the retrieval part. How do we find these emails day to day? And how do we retrieve everything against the project with confidence very, very quickly? Now, the biggest thing to take away from Mail Manager is that it's been designed to form part of your workflow within Outlook. So people don't forget to file, but on the other side of things, they're not spending time doing it. So one way of filing emails, if I were to come in the office, open up an email like this one here. Now, this relates to a project called Fitzroy Street, and it's about the contract adjustment. Let's say for this example, look, I've already spoken to Alex. I don't need to respond to this. What most people tell me they do now, yeah, Lucy, I'll probably close the email down. It will stay on my inbox. I may file it. If you close an email down with Mail Manager, the first thing you're going to get on your screen is a prompt. And this prompt's been developed to drive that habit and that consistency so people don't forget to do it. But what it also does to increase the speed of filing is it's also going to predict the exact project folder that you need to file into. Now, that project folder might be sat on Procore, SharePoint, a server, but it does that in a few ways. So Mail Manager's got AI built into it. It's reading the text within the body of the email, looking at the sender, the receiver, and the subject line. And it also machine learns, so it starts learning your filing habits and which projects you work on. At one click of a button, which is File, that email is going to move to two places now. One's going to go to wherever your project folder is stored. That might be a server or Procore. And a copy will go to a folder that sits within your inbox and is automatically created by Mail Manager called Filed Items, which is a list of all your filed emails. So that's one example. Personally, for me, I like to use my inbox as a bit of a to-do list, so I tend to flag things. It's my action list. So if we look at this email here from Alex asking me, can we proceed? It's not yet been filed. If I reply and put something like, yes, proceed, the minute I hit send, rather than me having to start filing the incoming email, going into my sent box, filing that, which we know not many people do, it's actually going to file the incoming email and the outgoing email all in one click. So most importantly, you've got that full audit trail, that story behind and that why behind what's been going on. So they're kind of two key ways of filing. There are other ways of filing, like right-hand clicking on email and using the File Email button. But the key thing about Mail Manager is that it will form part of your workflow, so you're filing consistently and instantly every time you action one. Now, the second big piece of Mail Manager is the search facility. One of my favorite parts that saves me huge amounts of time day to day. Now, the search sits up here, so you'll click this button. You'll see I'll leave mine pinned down the bottom of the screen there. And this is Mail Manager Search. So if you look in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see I've got 160,000 emails. Fortunately, I'm not involved in all those, and that's across multiple projects, but it's what I have access to. So in terms of controlling who can see what, Mail Manager mirrors your folder permissions. So for example, if you're filing to a server folder and there's only 5 people in the business that can currently access that, only those 5 people will be able to search for it with Mail Manager. Now, we'll give you a couple of user cases. So let's say, you've got an issue on a project. The client's saying, actually, we agreed mahogany for the staircase. You're saying it was oak. There's been a big problem. We need to find this email. If anyone's got a memory like mine, you don't always remember who sent it, who received it, but you know a keyword that could be somewhere in it. So this box here, I use it all the time. You can type in any keyword or phrase that can be anywhere within the email. So if I type in the word mahogany here, you'll see within 1 second, it's gone down from 160,000 emails to the one email I was looking for, which contained the word mahogany, which you'll see highlighted in yellow. So you're going to have very, very quick speed with this when you need to retrieve something. But let's go a little deeper. Let's apply some more filters here. So we'll give you a scenario. We had an issue on a project with Fitzroy Street a little while ago, about a year ago. One of the clients had sent us an attachment and we needed to find it. So an example of how you'd break that down with Mail Manager Search. First, I'd start with filtering by project. So in the top left where it says enter a location, you put in your project name or number. It'll also bring a recently used list up for you, which is quite nice and handy. One click of a button, you've got 4,600 emails, all in date order that's been filed to that project. But we want to narrow it down. So in the top left, you're able to filter by date range. You can pull it back to a year, 6 months, 3 months. And further on the left-hand side under Refine, you're able to refine whether or not the email has an attachment. So I'm going to mark that as yes. And I'm also going to put in the name of the attachment. And again, I've got my email. If I wanted to pull this up into Outlook, I'd simply double click it and it will pull it straight up in Outlook for me, which I could then forward on, send, or respond to. So you're literally able to search across your whole company on any project, regardless as to whether you're involved or not, within 2 clicks. The one final feature I wanted to show you, which is quite new to Mail Manager, it's been developed especially for the reasons when people leave a business and you need to know who to speak to about a certain topic, or you're new on a project. So enter a location, let's put our filters in. Who do we need to speak to on the Fitzroy Street project about cladding? Now, if you look in the bottom left, there's still 200 emails, and I've just not got time to scroll through all of those. So up here where it says social map, it will then use this data to visually represent it for me. So you can see straight away, the bigger the box, which is me, I clearly love to talk about cladding. I'm the best person to speak to. But the second step on from this is actually if you hover over, you can then start seeing the chains in communication. So who have I spoken about the cladding for this building to? Also, if someone hasn't been involved in conversation, you'll see their bubbles separately, which has been really handy in the past where we've had an issue. None of the team know about it, but we were able to see that 2 of my colleagues were having a conversation that no one else was involved in, and we were able to solve that issue straight away. So in summary, you have access to everything within a few clicks, whether those emails are stored on Procore, SharePoint, or a file server, everything's accessible through this one screen. So hopefully that was useful to give you a snapshot of some of the types of things Mail Manager can do. And I guess really as a summary of all of this, email forms a huge part of communication on a project. And the crazy thing is everyone does it in their own way. And the issues caused because of that means that if something goes wrong on a project or you need to find that one critical email, it's sat in someone's inbox. So we believe by standardizing your filing of emails will make it much easier to find information, increase productivity, and unlock information visibility across your whole business. So I'm going to hand it over to Derek now to go through Q&A, but we will be getting in contact with you guys to book in any personalized demonstrations you like so you can see how Mail Manager will work within your own environment. So Derek, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Lucy, and thank you both for a great presentation. And before we get to those questions that have been asked throughout the program, I wanted to remind everybody in the audience that we would love your feedback, and you can provide that to us via the webinar survey. We use that to help improve our programs. That should be on your screen right now, or you can fill that out at the conclusion of the webinar. And now for our first question. So this is something that we deal with, obviously, on the media side. How do you handle HIPAA requirements that, so not to infringe on privacy laws? Is that an issue, or is that something that's not really affected by Mail Manager?
Sorry, Derek, can you repeat that question for me?
Oh, sorry. I'm just asking about privacy laws and if that is something that Mail Manager has to deal with, or if that is not something that is an issue with your system.
It's a really good question. So I'm guessing it's things relating to, especially known in the UK, GDPR.
Yes.
So this wouldn't infringe on any of that. So we're not allowing people to search directly in someone's personal inbox. They're searching against project folders on your server. Just as if they filed those emails, they're having to physically file it and click that file button, and it's moving it's company data effectively. So we're not going into their own personal.
Great.
I'll add to that, Lucy. At the moment, that data, that private data, that is residing in individual inboxes. What Mail Manager does is it allows you to differentiate between your project emails and those emails that perhaps you didn't need to be keeping hold of. It makes that process a lot more easy.
And so, does Mail Manager work with Procore? If so, how? How does it work with it?
So Mail Manager works with
short
Procore.
answer. Sorry, just for the audience's sake, there's a bit of a lag for me and Lucy, so if we talk over each other, it's for that reason. We do integrate with Procore, yes. We think Procore is a really good system. The way that happens is basically, put it simply, Mail Manager is a bridge between your project team's inboxes and Procore. We capture your emails, point them in the right direction, and send them to the rest of your project documentation on Procore. If you'd like a bit more of a technical summary, then please do book onto a demo and we can show you in practice.
Okay, and everybody, we have plenty of time for questions, so if you have those, just feel free to ask. Lucy, during your portion of the demo, you showed how quickly it searched, how quickly Mail Manager searched. I mean, 106,000 emails, and it pulled up an email you're looking for within 1 second. How long does it take to move like a mass amount of email? I mean, I'm talking like somebody like me who's got 10 years and who's crazy, who keeps every email ever. How long would it take to move that many emails into Mail Manager?
A really good question. You're not too dissimilar to a lot of people we speak to prior to implementing Mail Manager. So we've got a really cool bulk filing facility, which allows you to move, hundreds of emails in one go over to your project folders. And in the process, it removes duplication as well. So it clears it out nicely too. Again, definitely something we can show on a demonstration, but there is a nice, quick and easy way of doing it.
And so we've got a couple of questions here about mobile devices. Now, are you able to file using a mobile device? And if you are, can you describe that process and the simplicity of it, I guess?
Sure, Derek, I'll take this one. So what Lucy just showed you is Mail Manager on the desktop app. Mobile functionality differs from that. You wouldn't get a prompt reason for that. Simply is screen resolution and the size of that screen. On your mobile, you can file into Mail Manager. You'll be able to search through the applications, but the functionality will differ. For that reason, I would recommend booking onto a demo and we'll show you in practice. Short answer is really simple, really easy.
And this question is asking, so how do you get Mail Manager? It's obviously not a Microsoft product. Is it something as an attachment that you can go through like Chrome store, as an app on, an app store, or is it some other process to actually integrate it into your Outlook?
Good question. So basically, it's an Outlook plugin. So you would purchase the licenses from ourselves, and we would set it up for you. So we'll configure it on your within your environment, and then you can roll the plugin out internally via group policy or by SCCM.
And so this question, I think it wants to delve a little bit more into detail with something, Lucy, you showed during your demonstration. It says that Outlook used to have a people pane feature that listed a history of the correspondence in the bottom of the email window. Does Mail Manager have a feature similar to that keeps track of correspondence with the client other than the search function?
Apologies, Derek. I don't quite understand the question. Can you ask it again, please?
Sure. They're asking, so this question is, to my understanding, is that it used to list the number of correspondence based off an individual. And is Mail Manager capable of doing that? Or what are the ways Mail Manager is capable of organizing correspondence?
Okay. The way the capabilities of Mail Manager organizing the correspondence. Well, in terms of seeing a chain of communication, Mail Manager will capture the conversations that happen up until the email that you file. So you're always capturing that full audit trail, and it won't tamper with that. Also, it won't get rid of any Outlook data if that's the nature of the question. So what you have in Outlook will stay in Outlook. We don't go and grab emails and remove them entirely. You retain that full functionality within.
And I think this next question has a little bit to do with where data is saved. But say for whatever reason, somebody wipes their computer, either deliberately or accidentally. Is everything safe, or and can that individual be able to resume work? Does Mail Manager have any capabilities with that regard, or does it really just depend on where the data on that computer is being stored, such as offsite or on a server?
Yeah, so Derek, I think the best way to look at this is all your project data is either stored on like a server or Procore. So if someone's machine broke, you're not going to lose all that data. In their Outlook account, they'll have a copy of the emails that they've personally filed in a folder called filed items, but all that data that they've been filing over the time they've been at the business will be stored within your own environment on a server or Procore as an example. So you wouldn't lose that. All they need to do is basically, well, it depends if they've completely lost Outlook. If they have, just reinstall Mail Managers to it and they can crack on and file emails and search for them.
Fantastic. So how do you control who has access to email?
Great question. So Mail Manager will mirror the permissions you already have set on your server or on your SharePoint or on Procore. So one can only get into and file into and search through the folders they already have access. So in our company, that means I can't get into my finance director's financial folders in the same way that I can get into my personal folder.
Beautiful. Unless there are any other questions, hold on for a few seconds here, but I'd also like to remind everybody that if you would like a demonstration of Mail Manager, please reach out and they will be happy to help you, guide you through the process, answer any questions that you might have, and obviously give a more detailed demonstration than what we're capable of on this webinar. And I am not seeing any additional questions coming through, so I would like to wrap up the Q&A portion. I hope everybody will join me in thanking Lucy Pryor and Guy Seaward for their presentations, as well as our sponsor, Mail Manager. If you have any additional questions or comments, please don't hesitate to click the Email Us button on the console, and then we'll share your question or comment with our presenters, and they will respond to you directly. And then please visit enr.com/webinars for the archive of this presentation to share with your colleagues, as well as to find information about our upcoming events. And then make sure to tune back in for tomorrow's webinar, Simplifying the Complexity of Project Payments When Cash is Critical. That's going to air at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And we hope you found this webinar to have been a good investment of your time. Thank you all, and have a great day.